Are you thinking about selling on Amazon but you don't know where to start? If so, I've got you covered. Download my Amazon setup checklist. It's packed with all the steps you need to get your business up and running on Amazon absolutely stress-free. From setting up your account to creating standout listings, this checklist will guide you every step of the way. And best of all, it's totally free. Head to vickyweinberg.com or the link in the show notes to get your copy now and start your Amazon journey with confidence. Let's make Amazon easy.
Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week, I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. Today, I am so excited to welcome Selina Barker onto the podcast. Selina is a career and life design coach, and she helps people design lives and careers that they love. And she has a side hustle of journals, which she sells at the end of every year. So her journal is this year's journal is called Goodbye 2024, Hello 2025. It's Selina's 8th journal, and this is the first year that she's been selling on Amazon. And full disclaimer, I've been helping Selina sell her journal on Amazon, which she does refer to in our conversation. So I thought I would be upfront and tell you that now. Selina and I have been working together for the last few weeks to get her journal sales really going. And she will tell you all about that, as well as why she launched her journal. She has some really interesting views on Amazon for small businesses. She talks about self-publishing. She also talks about how when she first launched her journal, it was via a Kickstarter campaign. And I found that really fascinating as well. So there is so much covered in this episode. And I would love now to introduce you to Selina. Hi, Selina. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Let's start by talking about you, your business, what you do and what you sell.
Yes. So I'll try and keep the answer short. I do a lot of different things. So I am a career and life design coach, and I have been doing that work for almost 2 decades. So helping people, particularly to change careers and create careers and lives that they love. And I have a membership over on Substack, which I am all about helping people to design lives they love 1 week at a time. And Christmas, end of the year, start of the year, I launch a journal called this year, Goodbye 2024, Hello 2025. This is the 8th edition of the journal. I've been doing the process for even longer. I think I figured out it must be about 15 years now. So this is like my side hustle. And this year I have been having a lot of fun and a lot of success selling it on Amazon, all thanks to you, Vicky. I absolutely would not have been able to do it if it weren't for you. So yeah, that's what I do. And I also wrote a book called Burnt Out as well.
That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. There's so much we can talk about. So where should we start? So let's start by telling us a bit more about Project You. Let's start there.
Yeah. So, Project You kind of grew out of, for about 8 years, I had a business called Project Love. We had a podcast that we ran for 8 years with my gorgeous business wife during that time, Vicky Pavitt. She also spells her name like you. She's the only other Vicky I know who spells it that way. And we had... we experimented with all sorts of different things, memberships, courses. And in that time, I said to her, I really, really have this dream of this journal, this Goodbye Hello journal. I'd already started doing the process. This process began as a Word document, as a PDF file that I first created for myself. So I think it was about 15 years ago. I had come to an end of a year that was just full of ups and downs, full of great things, full of tough things. My heart had been broken. I'd gone after dreams. It was one of those years. And as I came to the end of the year, I thought, before I rush into the next year, and in those days, I used to just rush through life. I was like, before I rush into the next year, I just want to take a moment and reflect on all that I've done and all that I've been through and the lessons that I've learned. And then before stepping into the new year, I just want to take a moment and actually get clear on what I want that year to be about and set an intention for it. Because New Year's resolutions, it's the only main tradition we have, as we step into the new year, and they don't actually work. All the research proves that New Year's resolutions don't work. And I think it's so sad because I think it's such a great time to harness that collective energy of a new chapter and looking forward and what we're going to do with this next year. So I created this process. I loved doing it, shared it with my friends and my clients at the time, and they loved it. And I have to say, I've tried all sorts of tools and exercises and tried them out on people, but this was the one that really had people coming back year after year saying, oh, you're doing that thing again. And so I started to have this dream that instead of it just being a Word document or a PDF, what if it became a journal that you could then collect and you could see growing on your shelf year after year after year? So I said to Vicky, can we have a go at making this dream come true? And she said, okay, let's do it. So we did a Kickstarter and we got, I think, 150% of our target. We sent out 1,000 journals that year to about over 20 countries all over the world, which was hell because we were literally queuing up in the post office with the Christmas rush, with the Christmas queues being like, this one's for Australia and this one's for Germany and this one's, all over the place. But then after that, we were like, right, let's do this year after year. And so at a certain point, Project Love came to an end and I turned it into Project You and to carry on. And I want to be doing these journals until the day I die. And hopefully someone will carry on doing them after that. I want to have a whole bookshelf, like into my 80s and other people around the world of this journal. And it's just what's so beautiful for me is to see the tradition it has become for people over the years to do this at the end of the year or the start of the new year, particularly in that betwixtmas time, that time between Christmas and the new year is such a gorgeous kind of where the whole world seems to just go a bit slower and sort of pause and become reflective. So a lot of people do it in that time. And per your recommendation, I got my fans of the journal this year to put reviews up on Amazon when I sort of really put it up on there. And so far I've had over 50, the most amazing reviews of how people use this as a tool in their life to get clear on what they want and go after their dreams and stay on track. So yeah, this is my real passion project. And I love the game of selling it as well and seeing if I can each year just sell a little more. And yeah, this year my game has been Amazon. And so far it has been selling more this year than any other year by quite a lot. And that's definitely because of being on Amazon, which I have to say I love.
Amazing. Oh, and I've got so many follow-up questions I want to ask. First of all, look, I've got mine here. Look.
Yay!
And so I'm actually, when you said about the in-between time, that's when I'm planning to do mine because I love that time.
Yeah.
I know not everyone likes that in between Christmas and New Year. I really like it.
I love it. And this year, actually, this year I'm going to do on the 28th, and I haven't announced exactly when, but I thought it is a time where a lot of people do the journal. So on the 28th of December, I'm going to really encourage people to use that day if they can. It's a Saturday to really create a day for reflection and doing the journal. I'm going to do a 1 hour live workshop so people like at 10 or 11 a.m. on the Saturday, turn up in your PJs, cup of coffee, whatever you want to drink, and let's get started in the journal so that people can just crack into it. Sometimes people are afraid of that first, blank page and writing in it. So I was like, well, let's all start it off together for those that can make it. And there's a real community around the journal, which is really, really gorgeous as well. I'll stop talking so you can ask questions.
No, it's good. It's much worse if you don't talk. Never come on a podcast and don't speak. That would be awful. No, thank you. And I was going to say, I will come on the 28th. And actually, this episode we're recording it in November, but it is going out in December. There is still time for anyone who hears this and thinks, oh, I'd quite like to come along to that. We'll make sure we have the details for that, either in the show notes or the email, but they will be there. So anyone who's thinking, oh, I'd like to join in can come along. Because I think you're right. It's nice anything that feels part of a community is lovely. And it's really, I've got so many questions, but how have you lent into creating a community around the journals, do you think? Is there anything you've done or has it happened naturally?
So with Project Love, like I said, we had a podcast for about 8 years and a really gorgeous community grew up around that. On there, also connecting on Instagram. So we'd already grown this community. So when the journal came out, that community that we already had really, came and really helped us with that Kickstarter. It was amazing to sell 1,000 copies with that first Kickstarter. And so that community has just followed on. And even when Project Love, Vicky then went, on her separate path, doing her amazing love coaching. And I carried on, turned it into Project You. That community has sort of come along. And I think people I think people can really tell when something is made with love and is made with passion and made from the heart. And I think people want to be, they want to be a part of that. And so I do as much as I can to share my journey with my newsletter and the ups and downs of this journey, which there have already been many just in this year alone. I think, and also what I do now is I really encourage people to sign up to the Goodbye Hello Club. So the one I'm doing on the 28th, that's going to be free. And then in January, I do a big online share. So everyone has usually finished their journal by the end of January, but I also think it's a great one to do in February. But at the end of January, I do a big online share. So people come online. Again, it's free to join. And we go through the whole journal, and people in the chat on Zoom share their answers to the different questions. And it's so uplifting and beautiful to hear human beings, most of which don't know one another, just sharing about their dreams, the lessons they learned, the challenges they went through, their happiest moments. There's something so beautiful to gather with a group of, say, about 60 people is what we normally get, and it could be more this year. Just really sharing from that place. I think it's something that we crave and we want more of. And so, yeah, it's not been difficult to create the community at all. That has been required no effort. Everything else has required more effort.
That's amazing. Because something else I wanted to ask about, and I've got lots of questions, I should warn you, is that because your product is fairly seasonal, because you explained obviously you're going to be selling most of them between now and the end of the year, as in when we're recording in November until the end of the year. And then I imagine that from January onwards, you don't get many, if any, sales. Maybe you get some.
It's fascinating. So for a period of time, we self-published the first 2 or 3 years, and then we went with a publisher. And that was great because actually we got it in shops all over Europe, all over the US. I'm presuming Canada. I think they were in Australia. They turned up in shops in Australia, and of course in the UK. And we actually, when we were self-publishing, got it into Oliver Bonus. But then I wanted to take it back because they were trying to give us less and less money, basically. And I'd just been through a process of publishing a book with another publisher, and I do not like how the publishing industry treats authors. I didn't like how I felt treated. And so I decided, you know what, actually, it wasn't getting that much press. I didn't feel like they were really putting it out there in the way I wanted it to. And I was like, I'm going to take my baby back and I'm going to self-publish it. Now I've forgotten your question. Why did I start with that? I was going somewhere with this.
I was asking if sales drop off in the new year.
Oh, yes. So now over the past few years, because I'm now self-publishing again, I'm really able to see. And last year I sent them all out as well. So I could really tangibly feel how the sales go. And it's the same every year. Basically, when I launch it in October, fans of the journal, they'll buy it. They're excited. They want to get it. They want to be the first to have it. So you'll have an influx. Then it drops off. And then it's slow, really low level. This year it's been more. And I think because it's been on Amazon. So it's just that ease of buying, or new people are finding it. I don't know. But up until Black Friday, it's just trickling. It's just trickling. The moment Black Friday sales are done and we step into December, then boom, off it goes. It's like watching, a racehorse. It's like go, go, go. Suddenly it goes nuts. Hit the 2nd of January or the 3rd of January, and it's like, this is old news. Like it's amazing how you'll have all of these sales coming in, and then we hit New Year, and now we're into 2025, and that's it. Why in the world would you even be thinking about 2024? And it's the same every year. It's amazing. So it's really fascinating. I really love the fact that I've got this, basically, really, it's 1 month to really go for it and really capture. But I think it's also the reason that it does sell so well, because it's a great Christmas present and it's so time specific. So it's this small window. And so I really harness that. But yeah, it's like a 1 month. I mean, I'm making an ad this year for the first time. And I was like, is it ridiculous to invest in having an ad made for Instagram and Facebook by the amazing Alice Loveday Social? It's a stop motion video. But I thought, yeah, why not? Like, it's just a concentrated time. And I really like that. I really like that challenge and that focus.
That's really good. And it sounds like you've definitely made it work for you as well, because I know that you go all out trying to sell as many copies as you can, obviously.
Yeah.
And you were talking before about, try every year trying to sell more. So I think it sounds that, I guess that's doable if you're doing that for a month, 6 weeks. Whereas that level of intensity all year, I think you just burn yourself out.
I'd burn myself out, but also, my main priority as well are my clients, my one-to-one coaching clients. So I'm still coaching my clients at the moment. So actually, it's not that I can do this full time. I always say this is a side hustle for me. And I do it on top of, in addition to my coaching and looking after my membership. And those really need to be my priority. So I never want those to suffer because I'm suddenly focused on the journal. And interesting, even though at the moment my game is to see, sell more and more journals, it could be, and I'm totally open, and I'll see how this year goes. But this year I'm playing a game to hit 2,000 sales. That's what I've printed. Last year I sold about 1,600, I think. And the year before that, maybe 1,200. So it is going up. But I could go, actually, do you know what? Next year, if I just print 1,000, I won't obviously make as much of a profit, per book. It's more expensive to just print 1,000. But it could be, if I just print 1,000 or even just 500, I'd need to do very little in the way of effort to sell it. And then maybe, it works out better that way. So for me, the most important thing is sustainability. I want to make sure I really I love my work, and I've loved my work for 20 years, apart from a few tricky years here and there, largely caused by things like the pandemic. But it's really important to me that I really enjoy what I do. So trying to hit more and more sales each year has to feel fun, and it has to feel sustainable. It has to feel enjoyable. And if it feels too stressful, or if it's too much effort, or I drop, the ball on other things, then I would actually go, maybe I'll change it up. And to make this sustainable and long term, I'll sell fewer. But this is why this year I really wanted to experiment with Amazon and seeing how it goes, really, putting a lot of my journals there, as well as selling on my own website and the Tate Modern, the one shop I've got it into.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you were in the Tate this year.
Yeah. And last year as well. And we got it into Oliver Bonus when we were self-published. Oliver Bonus, the Tate Modern, some of these bigger ones are actually really supportive of independent publishers and makers. So yeah, I'm going to go with my son and my husband on Friday and see it in the Tate Modern and celebrate.
That's really cool. You shared. I'll be looking out for the picture of that.
Yeah.
Definitely do. And I think, thank you for sharing all of that. And also, I guess, we were talking about sustainability, and this is a different type of sustainability, but equally, I guess you don't want to be in a situation where you're printing more and more books and one year you have surplus books, because as you said, if nobody wants them past January, what do you do? That's just waste, isn't it? And that must be really tricky, actually, working out how many to produce each year.
It's so tricky because, and I did 1 year, the year before last, I found a really great charity that works with women recovering from domestic abuse, and I donated a bunch of journals to them. And I thought, actually, that's, if I can find places to donate journals, if I have surplus, that would be ideal. But even then, you've got to get in there relatively quick. And yeah, in terms of, even recycling, because I sent them out all last year, those maybe it was about 300 or 400 that I couldn't sell, I had to rip off, because I've got this lovely Spot UV, I don't know if you can see, shiny, glossy on the front and back, that can't be recycled. So I had to rip the cover off every single journal so I could put it into my recycling bin. And I've still got boxes that need to be ripped and then put and then bit by bit recycled. So I do as much as I can in terms of, environmental sustainability. My packaging and all the rest of that is, in fact, actually last year, every year I experiment, every year I learn lessons, every year something hilarious goes wrong. Last year, when I first sent them out, I got that paper tape that you wet, not sticky craft tape, but like you wet it with a sponge and then, wrap stuff in that. And because I didn't have the right boxes to send, I think 3 at the time. So I attached one to a box of 2 and wrapped with this, tape I'd sort of wet down. And people started writing back to me saying, I got one box with like these tape hanging off. The other box had just fallen off and gone wandering somewhere. And but it was all part of then I got a more robust craft tape. But it is really important to me, that of making sure that I am as environmentally friendly as I can be. So that thing of the surplus is really tricky. So yeah, again, it's a real game there. I decided, okay, I'm going to go for 2000. Let's try. And if I don't get anywhere near 2000, then next year I may well bring it down. But so far, at the time of recording this, and we're not even December yet, I've just hit 500, and I wanted to get to 500 sales before December. And I've got my my candles saying 500, and I've got ones for 1000 and 1500 that I'm going to blow out on Instagram on a cake to celebrate hitting my milestones.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And I should say it's the 26th of November, so you have done really well.
Yeah. So yeah, very exciting.
Oh, thank you for sharing all that, because it's just having a seasonal product, I think, is maybe there's more to consider than people might realise there is to consider, which is why I know I'm digging down into quite a lot of details, but it's just really interesting because lots of us sell products, the same products all of the time. But because yours has such a short window, I hadn't actually considered some of the challenges of that. I could definitely see, by the way, that it could work as a limited edition thing where there's only however many, and when they're gone, they're gone.
Exactly.
Then it's sad for those who miss out, isn't it? So this is
the thing. I mean, this is the thing. And also because right from the start, we made it such a global thing, which is wonderful. With our first Kickstarter, just doing it ourselves, we sent it out to over 20 countries. Then once we got it, we teamed up with a publisher, and they were getting it out all over the world. So we've got a lot of people for whom this has become a yearly tradition. And so I am really passionate about trying to make it available to us, in Europe, in the US, obviously in the UK, Ireland. And that's been one of the biggest challenges. Even this year, I had someone in Germany sending the journals out. She did last year through the snow every day, loved it. And this year we could not get the German customs to allow the journals into the country. And we've tried so many different routes, and even German Amazon still, Vicky, are not letting me sell on there because of packaging, which I don't actually have. But anyway, it's that's part of the challenge. That's part of the game for me, is trying to get it as available to as many people in as many countries as possible. I do my best.
You do, and I'm glad you're viewing these challenges really positively. And I will say with the packaging thing as well, because that's a new requirement. Hopefully by this time next year, it would have, when I say worked itself out, what I mean is, I think at the moment it's a requirement, it's a compliance issue. But by next year, I think they probably will realise that actually you don't have any packaging. It's just at the moment everything's so strict, as it should be. But it's also hard for someone like yourself, where actually these rules don't apply, but it's really hard to prove that they don't because it's new and people don't have the experience of. Do you see what I mean? And also hard when the people you're communicating with in Amazon are obviously not reading the email that you sent that explained very clearly that you don't have packaging. But anyway, perseverance is the key with Amazon customer services, I have learnt. Plus, hire Vicky. And we'll talk a little bit more about Amazon in a moment. We definitely will, because I know you want to talk about Amazon. But first, I just want to say as well that I did not realise that you launched with a Kickstarter.
Yes.
And I would love to talk just a little bit about it, because I know it was 8 years ago, and I'm sure that Kickstarter's changed in that time. But I would still love to hear your experience, because it sounds like it was massively successful, and I'd love to know what you think helped with the success.
Yeah. So I've actually done 2 Kickstarters for the journal. So we did the first time we launched it, we did a Kickstarter. And then I did it again 3 years ago when I took it back and I was like, I'm going to self-publish this. I think using a Kickstarter is brilliant as a marketing tool, actually, because talking of that community, bringing a sense of community, people feel really excited when they feel that they have played a part in turning this into reality. And I got some brilliant advice from a friend at the time who'd also done a successful Kickstarter when we did it 8 years ago. And he said, bring it to the point where you actually even they can see the copy and say, look, we've designed it. It's ready to go. We've even got these 2 copies for you to look at. But now we need your help to raise the funds so we can print it and send it out to you. So that's already, and it's creating a game, it's gamifying it so people can see, that countdown, you've got the sort of numbers going up. He said things like, there's all sorts of statistics. If you could get over 50% in the first week, then you're more likely to, definitely meet your target, what kind of target to go for. Some people go for a low target and massively pass it. We went for a fairly chunky target. I think we tried to raise £10,000. Is that right? That sounds like an insane amount, but I think that is what we went for. And I think we managed to make 15,000. That now sounds like a lot, but I do think that was the case. It would make sense. We sold 1,000 journals. It's really valuable as a marketing tool. Creates a great community, creates great momentum. The second time I did it about 3 years ago, I think I went for maybe a slightly lower target. I can't remember, but it was a really good way to kind of launch and make a buzz and get people involved in, come on guys, bringing community together, share with your friends so we can make sure you get the journal. And it was also, people really do want to get it. Now people who are using it every year as a sort of New Year's tradition instead of New Year's resolutions or in that lovely betwixtmas period, they wanted to make sure it happened. And so they share it out amongst their friends and say, come and buy one so we can make sure it happens this year. So they're really powerful. I have to say, doing it on my own 3 years ago, I mean, it pushed my stress levels and my anxiety to the max, because I was like, the moment I hit go on the Kickstarter, I was like, what if I don't meet the target? But actually, there are some really good tricks. Again, this friend told me 8 years ago, he said, have some really high ticket rewards. So have a couple of rewards that are 1,000 or 2,000 or 500, whatever it is. And if you're almost there, get someone to choose that high ticket reward to push you over into the, because what happens with Kickstarter, if you don't hit that target, it's not like 80% have bought it, still get it. No one gets it. So I was just like, we can't risk no one getting it. So he's like, so have someone push it over, and then they don't actually have to then, when it goes through, they say, yes, I do want you to take this money. They can just go, So I don't know if that's cheating, but I thought it's an important trick to know about, because most people doing a Kickstarter, it's, trying to do something that makes a difference or is a creative project. And I think it's useful to have these little tips, but you have to have a strong nerve to do a Kickstarter. One of the things also we did in the first one, and I must have done it in the second one, I can't remember now, is we made a video and my brother's makes videos, so we were able to do it with him, but made a video explaining the story and telling the story. And it's really good for brand awareness as well, I think, doing a Kickstarter, but it definitely creates that community straight away around the product that you're putting out there. And I think it's great for books. I think it's a really, I think it's a really good way to launch a book if you're self-publishing, is doing it as a Kickstarter.
That's really useful. Thank you. And actually, I would also mention that we did an episode on crowdfunding, I want to say a year ago. I can never remember because when you've been podcasting for 4 years, it's really hard to remember.
Yeah.
And I'm going to link to that one in the show notes for anyone who's interested. Thank you for sharing all of that. I didn't know the thing, and perhaps I did, but I completely forgot that if you didn't hit your target, you don't get anything.
That's on Kickstarter. So different crowdfunding platforms are different, but definitely with Kickstarter, that one, I think other ones don't do that, and you get you still get whatever you did make. But with the Kickstarter, part of the buzz is like, we need to meet the target for anyone to get a journal. So then everyone's really invested in spreading the word and getting their, grandma and their friend and their whoever to buy the journal. And so it can be a really good launch and marketing tool.
I can see that, because you'd be so much more invested if you really want something. You're going to be so much more invested if you realise that actually, you might not get it if another 50 people, whoever, don't chip in. Yeah, I can see. And there's, I guess, people are then doing your job for you because they're wanting people to buy.
And there's the game of it. It's got a deadline. It's got a deadline by which you need to buy it. It's got, it's gamified, so you can see that number going up. So you can be creating that buzz and, reminding people 1 more week to go. If you've got any friends you think that would love the journal, please let them know so we can reach our target. I think it's a really powerful tool and has a really positive feel to it. It's about communities supporting the products and helping those products they want to see in the world become a reality. So, it's very cool.
Thank you. And speaking of communities, this is the last question before we move on to Amazon, is that this is my first year that I've got my journal. Very excited. Yeah. And you mentioned you have a community and people get the journal every year. I'm just curious, does the journal change from year to year?
So yes and no. So the idea is most of the questions in there are going to be the same year after year, because there's something really powerful then to go and look and say, so this or last year, my happiest moments were this, but back in 2018, my happiest moments this, or this is the dream I had back in 2018. So one of the exercises in there is you write about your dream life 5 years from now. Well, those of us who've been doing the first journal since 2017, and prior to that, the PDFs, although I've lost all of mine, so I don't know where they are, which is why I needed to have something more solid like a journal. You can go back and you can see your answers and see how you've grown and see how your dreams have changed and evolved and which of those dreams have come to life. However, I can't help but each year come, as I'm going through the journal, I'll be like, I feel like that bit could be done better, or I feel like it's missing a little something. So this year, for example, for this first time, I've added in, we now have quarterly check-ins in it. Then that kind of evolved probably 2 years into doing the physical journals to add these quarterly check-ins to keep you on track, which is really lovely. And this year, I've put in for the first time, well, for those of you who are watching a video, well, no, you won't. Most of you are just listening, aren't you? But I've put in a yearly life design plan, so a calendar for the year on one page, so you can sketch out some of the bigger things you want to commit to doing this year, what you want to fill your life with this year. So I like to add sort of new things. And obviously the design is different each year. So people are always excited to see what color will it be this year. In fact, there's a group, I love this. There's a group in Colorado. Is it Colorado? Oh, I've forgotten. Is it Culver? I can't remember. Somewhere in America. And they, every year, they guess amongst them what the color of the journal is going to be in the year to come. So they all get together in this bookstore in the US, and this intergenerational group that gets together and does their quarterly check-ins. And yeah, one of them this year guessed it would be a purple color, and they were correct, but they all had different guesses of what color it would be. So yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. And I think it's brilliant, the community you've built and all these people who are just waiting to come out. How lovely is that people are just waiting for you to have it so they can buy it?
Yeah. I mean, it's in terms of, I mean, honestly, I feel like one day I'm going to discover, well, Paperchase no longer really fully exists, do they? But some big brand Sainsbury's is going to do their own version of this or something, because I don't know. I think it's, but they wouldn't have the community around it. They wouldn't create the community.
Wouldn't. I don't actually think that anyone could copy or replicate what you're doing, because I think a lot of people are in it for you and the history and the community. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. So yes, someone else could come out with their own, and there are other journals out there, aren't there? There are plenty.
Yeah. Oh God, there's loads of other journals. Yeah.
But I think people are buying yours year on year because of the community and because of you.
Thank you. That reassures me that Sainsbury's can't come and do it.
No, I don't think they can. And I think that's really important. I think it's important for everyone to hear, because whatever we sell, most of us, somebody could come along and do exactly the same thing, couldn't they? There's only so many original ideas, and unless you've got some kind of IP, and even if you have, there's nothing to stop someone trying to rip it off. But it will be different. And actually, I guess that there are so many of everything now, aren't they?
Yeah,
but people and everyone, everyone has their customers. So I just think that's worth everyone remembering, because it can be so hard to think, oh, that person's selling something really similar to me, so maybe no one will buy mine. But I guess their customers won't be your customers, and vice versa.
Exactly. And there are other similar things out there. And I can't remember what it's called. There's something Compass, which also has a beautiful community around it. And it's theirs is like a PDF version, and it's also something you do in the new year. Some people do both of them. They do that one and they do the journal in my journal. And so, but I think it's also, I don't know if it would be worth the while of somewhere like Sainsbury's doing it, because of the fact that it's got 1 month window really of selling it. They might be like, oh God, no, it's not worth our time because of the issue with the surplus. So anyway, we'll see. It hasn't happened yet.
I don't think you have anything to worry about. And actually, interestingly, I've just recorded another podcast episode before this where we were talking about comparison. And the key point of that was that everything's inspiration, but people will always gravitate to you or to your products. And it doesn't matter whether you think someone else's product looks nicer than yours, or they've got more followers than you. That's all sort of irrelevant, really. Easier said than done.
Yeah, you're giving me ideas of things for next year as well with this.
Oh, that's exciting.
How to develop the community, but okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So let's move on to talking about selling your journals on Amazon, because I know you've done it before this year, but when we spoke a few months ago, you mentioned this year you really wanted to go for it on Amazon. So let's, first of all, why was that? Why is this the year you thought, right, let's see what I can do on Amazon?
Again, because of the timing, Christmas time, people need these journals, particularly as we get closer and closer to Christmas. They want them ASAP, obviously before Christmas Day for gifts. But, sometimes people are like, oh, I need to get it now to, I'm going to go and see so-and-so in 2 days. And I'm a very last minute person, so I'm always thinking of the last minuter. I also know there's so much out there about don't buy from Amazon. But for me, as an independent publisher, creator, it's so valuable because it gets to a huge marketplace. It means that being fulfilled by Amazon, I don't have to be dealing with the stress of getting these posted out on time, relying on Royal Mail. So the first year I started self-publishing was the year of, all the Royal Mail strikes, which I totally understand, and it's really important that people get paid well. So I get why they were doing it, but it really impacted on me. Like the people were very understanding and very patient with it, but the stress of being like, I don't know when it's going to arrive. Like it's a nightmare. Also, actually, one of the other things is I'm seeing more and more scammers appear on Instagram and Facebook and online. And I think that there's something, if people can find it on Amazon, there's a there's a level of trust in terms of that it will get sent on time, that we can, you know, if it is a scam, you're protected. Like, I just think actually, and also the other thing about Amazon is then seeing, I knew it would get to Ireland. So last year, getting any journals to Ireland, whether we sent them out from Germany, which was our base for the EU, or from the UK, don't know what's going on with the with getting post into Ireland, but most of them just never arrived. And then I discovered when I did put it on Amazon for a period of time, UK Amazon, that then it was fine, that people in Ireland could get it on, you know, Amazon UK. So all of these things combined. And then, of course, Prime, Amazon Prime, just before Christmas is, you know, for people who use Amazon Prime a lot, then that's a massive bonus. So because of the time of year, it just felt like, it more and more realizing the benefits of it. Interestingly, we did look at Amazon. I've got a friend who works at Amazon. And when we first started self-publishing 8 years ago, in the second year we did look at Amazon, and we called up Amazon and we spent ages trying to understand the guy on the phone that was explaining to us how it worked. And my friend was like, oh yeah, and then you can just send it out to to all of Europe, and Amazon has its own planes and da-da-da. And we attempted to set it up and just could not get our heads around it. I just was so afraid. I just thought it was beyond my capabilities to understand how to make it work. And I didn't dare send them out. So that's kind of why the last couple of years I experimented, just sent a few to Amazon US. And then I was like, wow, it worked. Then I sent some more, and then the boxes did a full circle, went to the US, came all the way back to the UK, because the UK courier that I sent them with just lost all of the paperwork. But anyway, lessons have been learnt, how to make sure that your boxes are just completely covered with the correct, everything. But yeah, so I think I didn't know if it would even work, I think, the last couple of years. So it was tiny experiments. When I managed to was able to make it available on Amazon Prime last year, I was so excited. And it was only on there for about a week, and then it was back to me fulfilling it myself. I was sending them all out last year. I thought, well, I make more money this way if I fulfill it myself. But actually, the cost of my time of chasing the postman down the street, of never being able to leave my house because he might come between like 12 and 4 p.m. that day, of slugging through the cold weather to the post office because the postman hadn't come that day and I had to go, it was just, I was like, do you know what? I would rather completely outsource this to Amazon. But I knew from experience that with things as complex as this, as well as, and I've done the same thanks to you with my Facebook and Instagram ads, it's really important to me to actually get the help of someone who really knows what they're doing, to make sure that I'm not missing a trick and not accidentally doing something wrong. And, so I am really, really grateful for Amazon. I feel like I'm one of the only people out there vocally saying, I think Amazon's really great for some of us, independent creators and publishers. But yeah, it's been really exciting, and it has proven this. I mean, it could be, yes, year on year, I do see growth, but I feel like this year the growth has been greater because of Amazon. And yeah, I've definitely been selling more through Amazon, even in this quieter period. So I'm excited to see what happens now when we step into December.
Well, I think one of the great things about Amazon is it puts you in front of new people. And I know there is a bit of resistance often to selling on Amazon because people say, oh, I want the shops and small businesses. But actually, and I mean, I know it sounds like it's within my interest to say it, and it kind of is, but it's true that small businesses are on Amazon. So by saying I'm not going to shop on Amazon because I want to support small businesses, actually, a lot of these small businesses are on Amazon, and a lot of small businesses on Amazon need sales on Amazon, because when you consider Amazon's a great marketplace, but as you know, there are fees and there are things that make it less than ideal. You need people to buy from you. You need to get sales for it to be worth you being there.
Yeah.
And especially if you're using FBA, because if you end up, hopefully you won't end up in this situation, but if you're using FBA and you find out actually you've got units left and they expire, or they're sat there and no one's buying them, it's Amazon's complicated.
Yeah.
So I think small businesses that are on there need people to buy from them on there, as well as on their own websites and other places.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone the other day on Instagram. She's this amazing poet, wonderful, and she's, really using her platform to make a difference. And she made this big announcement. I'm so excited. We've convinced, I don't know how many thousands of people never to buy a book again on Amazon. And I was like, oh no, what about this? What about the self-published? I mean, I'm not an author. This is a journal, sort of somewhere in between. Well, it's a planner, isn't it? We're calling it a planner anyway. It's not a book, but for all intents and purposes, it's a book. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. But Amazon is amazing for self-published authors, and the publishing world actually, and then sadly, independent bookshops can't support self-published authors. A lot of them can't, because what we found trying to get the journal in there, they were like, we only go through the main distributors. We go through main distributors because otherwise it'd be a logistic. I spoke to an owner of an independent shop, and he said, bookshop, and he said, I do take on some self-published authors because we want to support them, but it's a logistical nightmare because of keeping on top of all of, from these different suppliers. Basically, you're having thousands of suppliers if you got 3 books from this person, 4 from that person. So what I found as a self-published author, journal creator, was that you can't get into the main distributors, you can't get into the main bookshops, you can't even get into the independent bookshops. And with the print on demand with Amazon, for authors, but I also know people creating journals through print on demand. I didn't want to do it that way because I've got a sort of, more luxury journal that Amazon wouldn't be able to create with its lovely spot UV, and it's got lovely inside flaps and all the rest of it. But with print on demand with Amazon, people can publish their books on Amazon and not have to fork out loads of cash. And it's really making publishing your book accessible to people. So I get it when people are saying that, but I'm like, you kind of do need to understand how amazing Amazon can be for independent creators and makers. Like, this could make a huge difference to my business because I can't now send all of my, and I don't have a huge amount, but customers in Europe. I was dependent on my friend in Germany. We could not for love nor money get the journals. We tried 3 different ways into Germany. And so with your help, Vicky, I've been setting up France, Spain, Italy, Sweden. Those are the ones that will connect. And so now I can get my FBA inventory in the UK sent out to those European countries. And again, so that's made it fun, to reach out. I don't know how many people how many people I'll get to that way, but I want it to be available. And yeah, it's just amazing. But yeah, I couldn't have done it without you guiding me through the steps. I feel like otherwise you have to go and do an Amazon degree before being able to sell on Amazon. And now I'm experimenting with ads, which is really exciting, which again, I needed you to show me, because otherwise I would have been in January and still not figuring out how to do all the steps to make it work.
It is the least user-friendly marketplace that I found.
It's amazing. I mean, Amazon and Meta, I think, are definitely on some mission to keep people on their toes and make it, hard to get onto these places. But once you do, maybe there's something in that. Maybe it's like, it's a way of quality control or something. I don't know. I can't be deliberate. I think it's just made by people who have no interest in making it intuitive or easy.
It's so strange though, because what I don't get, and something I talk about a lot with like my membership and like one-to-one clients, is obviously Amazon and business. They want to make money. That's what they're about. They could probably make a lot more money if they had a platform that was much easier to use and more people could access it. Because I know people who give up, who walk away, they go, do you know what? This is an absolute nightmare. I'm either not going to, they get so far down the process and they stop, or they sell on there for a while and they have so many headaches, they go, actually, just not worth my time. And I totally get that. What I don't understand is why, because it doesn't have to be that way. If you look at Etsy or Shopify, I know Shopify is different, but you look at all these other marketplaces or platforms, they're so much more user friendly. They're so much easier to get started on. I don't understand why it has to be so hard.
No, that's why I just wonder if it's actually a strategy. It's a strategy of theirs to make it deliberately difficult. But although, you know what, I do though think that I think selling physical products isn't easy and straightforward. You know, there's always challenges to it because you're moving physical products around. There's lots of, you know, moving parts to that kind of business. And part of me enjoys the problem solving aspect of it. It's so different to my coaching, which is also, there's a lot of problem solving in that, but very different kind. And it's hilarious because I'm not a very logical or practical person, but I seem to enjoy this challenge once a year for a month.
It's probably because it is only a month a year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much someone, I like projects. So I like the fact that it's, you know, for a short period of time, I dive in. But what's funny is, like, when I got back to my Shopify shop, for example, or even my Facebook ads, I had completely forgotten how any of it worked. And I was like, why didn't I make any notes? I'm having to start from scratch. But luckily I had lots of things set up, so I didn't have to relearn everything. But each year, yeah, learning a little bit more. But I'm really enjoying, and you know, I really do mean this, I'm enjoying selling on Amazon because I've, you know, had my sessions with you to show me step by step what to do, because otherwise I definitely would not be enjoying it. And also I don't know if it would be working actually. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's really nice to hear, because obviously my whole goal is to make it easier for people to sell on Amazon, because despite all the challenges we've mentioned, people still want to, and it's still a good opportunity. And I never want someone to miss out on sales because they can't use the platform or because Amazon won't help them when they have a problem. I never want that to be the reason people aren't selling.
Yeah. Well, even one of the brilliant things you said to me was, because it's a planner and not a book, but it was categorized as a book. And you just said, don't give up, write to them again and state very clearly, but this is a planner. It is not a book, and therefore it should be. And they responded to that one and went, for the first time ever, as a valued customer, we are going to change it to a planner. I mean, that's probably one of the only positive and useful emails I've got back from Amazon, but it was thanks to you knowing how to communicate with them and how to get, you know, just how to navigate that as well, which, as you say, it shouldn't be that way. But while it is that way, I'm incredibly grateful, because we did try once with Amazon and we did walk away. You know, in the early days, we gave up because it was it was like trying to learn a different language. And I was like, I do not have the head for this. So, yeah, but once you get set up, every day I've got my tracker. I have my spreadsheet. Every day I go in and I look at what the sales were for the day before, and I add it up and see if I'm, you know, what the total number is. And it's a fun game. I like it.
Good. And I think once it's working, it does work, because you mentioned earlier about books, and I am with you. Like, I love bookshops. I don't want bookshops to close. I love going into a bookshop. However, I have a book, my book self-published. And as you said, I cannot get my book, and I've given up now. Well, I was like, have I given up? It's certainly not priority, put it that way, because I spent a long time trying to get my book into shops. I can't get it in any shops. However, I sell books on Amazon, and I do print on demand. The quality's brilliant. People can find it, people can buy it, people can get it the next day. If I said, do you know what, I'm not going to buy books on Amazon, then I can't really sell my book on Amazon. And then I don't sell any books, because that is the only place people are buying my book. You could buy it on my website. Every sale I get comes from Amazon. And yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, I also didn't sell on Amazon for a few years because of the kind of, let's keep away from Amazon, you know. And I was just like, why am I going to stop myself from getting sales? Amazon's not going to notice. Amazon's not going, oh, have you seen Selina Barker isn't selling her journal on Amazon? Well, maybe we should change our ways. That's like, you know, and it is important that people can get the book, get the journal in other ways, because I know there are some people who have, you know, as a point, don't buy on Amazon. And I really respect that. And I totally get it. But there are so many people who do buy on Amazon. And and like I say, particularly with books, I think what people forget and don't realize is it's a huge champion of self-published authors. You know, it's not a black and white thing with Amazon. It's a tricky one. I think it's hugely beneficial for small independent businesses once we get through a horrible system
I think
with your help.
And I agree with you that it's complicated. And I know there are people who would never, ever want to sell their products on Amazon. And I get that and I respect that. And I completely understand that. However, you can't get away from the fact that if you want to, and you have to want to, if you don't want to, well, one, why would you be there? And two, it's hard, as we've spoken about. So if you don't want it, you're probably not going to like everything that's coming your way because it's not easy to get set up. However, if you want it, I do think the opportunity's there. And I'm not saying it's for everyone, because I think I've said to you when we first spoke, Selina, my goal isn't for everyone to sell everything on Amazon. That's not it. But I think if you want to, because it has to be, at the end of the day, it's a business decision. If you think for your business it'll be beneficial for you to have your products on Amazon for whatever reason, I think great, it's a good idea. But if it doesn't work for you, or you'd rather put your efforts somewhere else, also good.
Yeah, exactly. And I've tried different ways, and I've done it without Amazon. And I will be able to report back better, you know, at the end of December on how it's gone. And this year I'm also experimenting, like I said, with an ad, some, you know, really lovely stop motion ad. And I'm going to put a bit of spend on Facebook and Instagram. So I'll be able to see there how sales do that way. But certainly so far, even with my shop available, people can now buy through the shop, and that gets sent by Royal Mail to UK, Australia and New Zealand as well. But it's still, people are choosing to buy it on Amazon because they're just all set up there, and it's just a swipe or a click, or it's Amazon Prime if people have Amazon Prime. And it's definitely already showing an increase in sales for me. And that's pretty exciting.
That is. And I'll be looking forward to getting the update.
Yes, exactly. I've got my little 500 candles here ready to blow out on a cake.
I think by the time this goes out, I think we've got about 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to see where you are when it goes out. We'll have to do an update for everyone.
Yes, exactly. Yes. If you watch me over on Instagram, actually Selina the coach, I do have Project You on Instagram, where I talk about the journals, but my Selina the coach Instagram gets a lot more reach, because I think I've got, you know, it's a face. People are, you know, more engaged in a face than a book, I suppose.
Yeah, of course.
But,
and I'll put it on my stories as well. And thank you for mentioning your Instagram handles. And we'll also put a link in the show notes where people can buy your book. And we'll link to your website, and we'll link to Amazon as well.
Yes.
So that people have got the choice where they'd like to buy it from.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you've shared, Selina. I have one final question before we finish, which is, what would your number one piece of advice be for other product creators?
Ooh, I think make sure that whatever way you're selling it and whatever way you are marketing your product, make sure you're doing it in ways that feel fun to you. Fun is a massive value of mine. I need things to feel fun and playful. So you could replace that with you want it to, you know, really involve feeling connected to people, whatever one of your values are. But I think it's really important that you sell your product and market your product in a way that feels really good for you, that you really enjoy. So for me, that means I need to make it fun. I need to make it feel like a game. I need to get support when I need support. It's really worth, I've so grateful for your support, Vicky, and investing in time with you has been absolutely priceless. But yeah, I think it's really important for us. It is stressful and it is hard work, and to be selling a product. And so I think making sure you do it in ways that feel good, that feel fun, where you and get the support that you need. So it can be an enjoyable experience.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week. Hi, this is just a little note. So if you've enjoyed this episode, or indeed any of the episodes, and you would like to, I don't know, buy me a coffee or something, you can actually now leave tips. So there's a link to how to do this in the show note. Of course, do not feel obliged to do this. This is a free podcast. This will always be a free podcast. But as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that via the link in the show notes.